Welcome back, everyone. Another episode of True Crime Drunks. I'm Wes McBee.
I'm Holly Lee.
Um, it's been a minute.
It's been a hot minute.
Apologies. I got the Rona, and
I had many vacations this
many
summer.
vacations.
Well, mostly just two. So,
We'll talk about it. COVID was interesting. I didn't die, so that's cool. Today we have an interesting topic. We kind of wanted to make this episode a, hey, we're back. We're not done.
yeah.
We took a little break. It's great to be back. I'm excited to be back. We're not going to cover a serial killer or a specific topic. We're going to kind of cover movies that are based on real life events.
Yeah.
Or at least loosely based on real life events. Because I know that we've all seen, you go into a movie and they're like, based on true events. Or,
Yeah, like the Conjuring movies.
yes, like the Conjuring movies. So we decided we were going to find a couple movies each that interest us, but also have some root in reality.
Yes. Yes.
But I think, I don't know. When I think of like horror movies and like, because a lot of them are horror movies that are like, oh, that was based off real events.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make much sense. But then if you think about movies like one of the ones I'm going to cover today, Scream, it doesn't seem that far-fetched.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of the time you think like a horror movie like monsters, ghosts. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of horror movies that are just serial killers.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about the good old Ed Gein, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
That's very loosely based off of actual man in Texas.
Yeah. That carved up people and made skin out of, or made furniture out of their skin. And you can go watch that episode, by the way. We did cover Ed Gein, and that was, oh, man. That's one of those episodes where you really start thinking about reality and just the fact that there was a human being not that far, like, he lived not that long ago, that liked to skin humans and, make furniture.
Very artistic. Yes, I remember, funny enough, the singular email we have ever gotten on our truecrimedrunks@gmail.com was on some guy being like, the blonde, she didn't say a lot of words right. And I was like, damn, I really got called out in an email? I was like, damn, alright, I mean, like, valid, I do stutter and kind of slur my words a bit, but like, our first true crime email, someone actually emailed in to comment on my speaking abilities. I saw it and I just started laughing. I was like, nah, dude, that's fair. I was like, 10 out of 10. Good on him for actually making it through the episode, hearing us do the plugs on how to contact us, and
sent it. He's all like, hey, you don't do words well.
I was like, dude, you know what? Because he was like, great episode. The blonde could have done better, essentially. And I was like, you know what? Respect. Tell me.
I feel like I'm the one who stutters a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is, I was like, I don't know. It's just, it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't even remember. I felt like I did good in that episode too. That's why I was like, but I do say like names wrong, and that's why I always preference. I'm sorry if I'm saying this wrong.
Yeah, names are tough.
Names are tough. But I guess maybe I said some words wrong. I mean, it was Ed Gein. I was maybe just excited because it's like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, you know? I was really excited.
So what movies did you bring to the table today?
I brought my true good favorite, Goodfellas.
I'm so excited you brought that one because I have a confession to make. I just barely watched Goodfellas for the first time.
You're good.
A month ago.
You're fine. I have a strong passion about Goodfellas, and people who haven't seen Goodfellas, I bash on hard.
Yeah.
Because, it's a great cinematic masterpiece.
It's so good.
But it's the people who then don't watch it that I'm like, please.
It's been on my list for a long time, and just recently I have got HBO Max now, Apple, like all of them pretty much.
Ooh, all the shebangs.
And I saw Goodfellas. I'm like, I've been needing to watch this for a long time, and I hopped into it. Masterpiece.
You're like, it's so good. It's so good. I loved it, especially because it is based on a true story.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I brought Goodfellas, Catch Me If You Can, which is that Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks movie where Tom Hanks is a FBI agent trying to find Leonardo, who is a counterfeit mastermind.
Right.
And
it's also got Christopher Walken, right?
Yeah, he's the dad. I think.
Yeah,
he's the dad. No, honestly, brilliant movie. Have you seen that one?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Good one.
Good one. I'm glad you. Okay, that's a good one. Yeah, honestly, great one. Because I didn't know. I kind of knew it was based on a true story, but I didn't at the time when I watched it, only because it was kind of outlandish.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that was based on a true story until you said that was one you were going to do today. I'm like, oh, it is?
Yeah, no, that's actually based on a true story. Like, that guy, like, the reason why counterfeit is as controlled as it is now is because of that young man.
Wow.
Running the fucking system to the ground.
Well, and speaking of counterfeit, another person that we kind of covered was Dory's husband, ex-husband.
Oh!
John Hoffman.
John Hoffman. The one with the Mormon...
Murder Among Mormons
Murder
on
Among
Netflix.
Mormons,
We interviewed her. We interviewed John Hoffman's ex-wife, and he was a counterfeiter of old Mormon documents and other religious documents.
Yeah, because I mean, counterfeit paintings is still a big thing.
Yeah.
And like documents as well. Like, it's hard to counterfeit money and transactions like that as like a catch me as you can, but art is still easy.
Speaking of art, side little tangent. If you ever do digging into like how the art world really is,
yeah,
that shit's such a scam.
Oh yeah.
You pretty much, you could go buy a piece of art. You have to have money for all this, right?
Obviously.
Go buy a piece of art and then just pad the pockets of like a really prestigious art. What's someone who examines art and like rates it? I know there's a specific word for it. But you pad their pockets with 10, 20, 30 grand, however much it takes. And then they're like, well, and they write their blog or they write their paper and say how much of a masterpiece and a genius this art piece is. And then boom, the art piece you bought for 100,000 is now $1 million.
No, 100%. One of my favorite comedians, Daniel Sloth. Mm-hmm. He's on Netflix. Have you seen him?
Yeah. Hilarious.
Oh, I love that man. I've seen his specials on Netflix so many times. But he brings up art. And he brings up a situation that was a real situation with, was it Picasso, the one that has like the splatters and stuff, where this art critic or this art person was giving his opinion because it was white with like black splatter paints, and there was a singular red dot on the painting, and he was going on and on and on, and he's like, yeah, this picture really, because he wasn't someone that like grades and tells you the value. He was just like interpreting it. And he was like, this really shows the essence of Picasso and how he feels turmoil as a person, going on and on and on. And then Picasso comes up and they were like, tell us about this piece. What does this red dot mean? And Picasso looks at it, looks at another painting, looks at it, and he's like, well, I'll be damned. Looks like I splattered. No point.
I have a hard time pretending that people who go to art museums and try and interpret it in this big way aren't just such phonies
or such posers.
Yeah,
straight up. I only say that mostly because like what you interpret isn't always what the artist interpreted.
Yeah, I
like reading what the artist wanted it to be and then seeing how I then see it myself.
Yeah,
because I feel like that's how, like Daniel Sloss says, if your job is being an art critic, you are the most most useless person in the world. Yeah, it's the most useless job description. Like movie critic, I can understand like a bit more, mostly in the sense of I'm like, yeah, you know, you're rating movies and like
sure
your technique, judgments, acting kind of makes sense, but art is so subjective as hipstery as that can sound.
Yeah, and I think too that unless you're judging it based off of like the actual elements of art, like is this actually a good art piece? Like does it follow the fundamentals of art? Yeah. Then I get that. But if you're going in there and you're like, it seems like he had a bad day that day because of this splatter mark. It's like, dude, you're such a pretentious
douche. Yeah, no, straight up. And like, because then Picasso was like,
by God, I don't know.
Didn't mean for that to happen.
Because there was a little red on my paintbrush.
Yeah. I think he was literally making another piece of art, and the one dot just happened to be there.
Yeah.
It came from another painting he was doing. Because, I mean, whatever you say, Picasso's good and all, it's still just splatter.
Yeah.
I used to also make splatter paint in my room all the time.
Yeah, I was a master.
I was great at it.
Yeah, finger painting? Ooh, man. Some of those should be hanging up in the goddamn Louvre at this point.
Right? And so it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I totally understand, you know.
I feel like a lot of it, too, is just reputation. If you can become a reputable artist, it doesn't matter what it means. People are just going to eat it up.
No, exactly. And I think, and like I said, art is subjective.
Yes.
I think anything made before, like anything in the Renaissance and stuff, obviously makes sense why it's worth millions of billions.
Yeah.
Because, you know.
It's history.
It's history. At that point, it's art, but it's also mostly history.
Yeah.
That's
people who try to interpret that stuff, too, is funny to me. They're like, oh, I didn't realize you lived during that time.
Yeah.
Weird.
No, straight up. One of my favorite, I stupidly took an art history class in high school. AP art history, let me tell you.
Sounds stressful.
We didn't even. It was not only AP art history for a year. It was every piece of art ever in 1 year.
Wait, what?
No, it was from the beginning, like ancient Romans, Egyptians art to
contemporary
Andy Warhol, all in a year.
That's a lot to cover.
Did not pass the AP exam. My dad made me. I got a 1 out of 5. I'm pretty sure I got a couple right, and that's why I got a 1, not a 0.
Hey, you know what? We'll take a 1.
We'll take
we'll take that 1.
One of my favorite art pieces was this Egyptian plate, and it like had like this weird like creature on it, and then like 2 circles, and it almost kind of looked like a paint palette.
Yeah.
And then you find out it's actually a makeup palette.
Oh.
It's just this piece of art and history, but it was a makeup palette for that time because it was like the oil and the charcoal, and then you mix them together to make like the face paint, or, like all the the eyeliner stuff.
See, my thing with art is I just truly believe that the best art is stuff you'll never see in a museum. Like I mean, there's still great stuff in museums. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. And
there's still new artists who get put into museums who are wonderful. But the people who are doing it because they're passionate about it and they don't care if it gets in a museum, that's the art that I want to see.
Yeah, that's art that going to Comic-Con.
Yeah.
I like going to Artist Alley because I just like looking at art, and especially because it's nerdy art.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's just like it's a picture of like Naruto, but it was drawn this certain way, and it's like a cool.
It looks dope.
It's dope. So.
Last thing, speaking of art.
Yeah.
Star Wars Visions.
I haven't watched it yet. I haven't had time, but I'm very excited.
Fake fan.
I know.
I've only 2 episodes. So I can't say much.
I still need to finish Clone Wars.
You just have to let me know. I've seen 2 episodes of 10.
Yeah.
I think that first one is probably one of the dopest things I've seen
in
Star Wars in a while. The second one turned me off so much that I haven't gone back. So we'll see.
That's fair. There's a manga now of Star Wars.
Which is crazy.
I know. I saw a TikTok that was like, why is Star Wars acting like doing animes and mangas? It's not Japanese. And then this like woman's like, oh yeah, it's Star Wars had no influence on Chinese, Japanese culture, none. And then like it's just side by side.
Yeah, all of it.
All I mean, like
how Star Wars influenced the world. Yeah.
Yeah, there's interviews with George Lucas saying he got his inspiration by samurais. Yeah, no other influences.
Yeah, weird.
I don't know what
People
it is.
suck.
People are weird about things like that, and I'm just like, get over yourselves. Who cares?
Yeah, just enjoy it.
Enjoy it. And
enjoy life.
If you don't enjoy it, that's fine. Like I had a really hard time with the Witcher anime that just came out, the movie.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
It's
an anime?
Yeah, it's like an animated movie.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's really good. It looks like it was done. My issue with it is I have a hard time watching the cartoon. My brain cannot process what's happening at all. I listen to it though. I just played a game on my phone the entire time and didn't even watch it. But I listened to it. I was like, oh, that was a good story. And looked up once in a while, so I kind of understood what was happening. But watching the animation just melted my brain. That I was like, I don't understand. I don't know what's happening.
And without Henry Cavill, I mean, is it really worth watching?
No, it was like about his predecessor.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So it's kind of like the reason why. So it's just a prequel to The Witcher, essentially. But it's good. I mean, like.
I just feel like if I wanted to like watch a Witcher cartoon, I'm just gonna play the video game. But exactly. Maybe it's just a different story.
Yeah, no. But still, it's one of those where I was like, I had a hard time because of the animation. So if you don't like anime, just don't watch it.
Yeah.
Just read the synopsis.
And then what was your third movie?
Spotlight. I'm kind of having a hard time with that one because that was kind of a spur of the moment.
I don't know. I don't even know what Spotlight is.
Oh, it's a great movie. Recommend.
Okay.
Put it on your list. It's about the Boston Global. Oh yes, it's the Boston Global. They were the ones that broke the secret on the Catholic Church. They were the people who wrote about priests touching little boys.
Oh, so interesting.
It was the Boston Global writing about a scandal in the Catholic Church. Well, because they started researching it, and then they learned that, because like the joke that Catholics touch little boys, it kind of came from this, because this came out in 2001.
Oh wow!
So it's just a story. It has Mark Ruffalo in it. Watch it. But it's just the story of the journalists that wrote the story, because obviously being in Boston, a very heavily Catholic state, posting something like that is pretty rough. But they like actually found out that no, the Catholic Church, they had multiple instances where a priest was touching kids, and so they would just move them to a different district, and they would just cover it up essentially.
They do that in a lot of different religions. Utah.
Yeah, essentially Mormonism. but I mean every religion has their things, but that's what broke out. That's what like Spotlight's about, is just them writing about the Catholic Church.
Wow, I have to watch that one.
It was actually really good. It was on Netflix for the longest time. I don't know if it still is, but I highly recommend it. Outside of Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, he's good.
He's Mark Ruffalo. So that one, if we have time to do it, I'm like trying to find stuff because I didn't really research it before, because like all my other slides have like the easy facts of like
sure
what I already kind of know, and like to remind me. This one, it only has like articles, and I'm like, I don't want to read out an article. I'll just send you the page if you're interested.
And I'm gonna cover Scream.
Yes.
Which is in every horror fan's top 10 at least, maybe top 20.
And if it's not, damn shame. I mean, I have Ghostface tattooed on my arm. I don't know if you can see with the camera, but it's Ghostface and a rose.
Scream is loosely based off an event, which I'll talk about.
I'm excited about
this. And then The Strangers, Holly's worst nightmare.
My worst nightmare come true.
That was, side note, that was one of the funniest things that we ever did on the book club. Because we were I think it was the book club. We were talking about worst fears. Yeah. And I can't remember, someone said something and you were like, "You're wrong, home invasion."
Yeah, because me and Cass already had like the joke set up, because I remember Cass was talking to me. I was like, "What's your worst fear?" And she was going on. She's like, "Yeah, I think my fear of like not becoming something, things like that." I'm like, "Wrong, home invasion."
Home invasion.
Because fuck where I'm going to be in life. Home invasion is something to actually be fearful of.
It's true.
I think it's because it's like a fear of others, because your home is your most comfortable place, but it's also your most vulnerable place. You're most likely to get in a car accident when you're closer to home.
Sure.
Because you're comfortable and you're wanting to go home. Home invasion is scary as fuck.
Yeah.
And so I'll fight anybody that says home invasion isn't that scary.
Home invasion is scary. I mean, I'm personally one that security systems and firearms, as long as you're safe with them.
Yep.
Because home invasion can happen to anyone at any moment.
Yeah, no, straight up. Yeah. I don't know. I think we talked about guns before. I'm like, to each their own. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say about it. I think there is a point where it becomes excessive and we should have some control. Not about limits, but who should have them.
Yeah, I think there definitely needs to be a little bit more restriction on the ability to get guns.
Yeah.
For example, I was able to buy an AR in and out of the building within an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, it's semi-automatic, right? I mean, we follow the laws, but like, you know how it'd be.
It'd be like
about
that.
about a shotgun at Walmart, if that says anything.
Yeah.
So like, it's I don't know. My problem is with that conversation, I don't have a solution that makes sense, so it's hard for me to bring it to the table.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to fix it.
It's one of those where I'm like,
something needs to be fixed, but I don't have the answer.
yeah. It's one of those like it's really weird. I don't know. But anyways, true crime.
Huh.
Yes. Sorry, I'm just this I don't know why I have this one up. This one just has interesting facts, but they're cool, interesting facts. So Goodfellas. A summary about Goodfellas. Oh, I should have brought up a summary. Let me pull up the actual summary, only because I feel like sometimes it's better to say. So I'll read you the movie summary.
Yes.
And then I'll tell you the true summary.
While you're looking that up, I am also going to the 6th season of The Sopranos for the first time.
Woke up this morning, got your gabagool.
Have you watched Sopranos?
I have to. I've been rewatching episodes here and there. I've seen most all of it.
It's
good. Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
It's there's a reason why the series did as well as it did.
Yeah.
And so I love Tony Soprano.
With that new movie coming out, I was like, because I never had watched The Sopranos, but it's always been on my list.
Yeah.
I was like, well, now's a perfect time, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah. No, it's good.
That's a whole entire true crime episode that I want to go down, is like Italian mob. Like, obviously we're gonna talk about it with Goodfellas, but like
no, but I agree, because I want to do the Irishman as well.
Yes.
Because that one's actually based on a true story, but like Goodfellas is really good because this is all based off of Henry Hill's true story.
Irishman.
I have yet to see that one. Weirdly enough, I love gangster mob movies. That one's the only one I haven't seen yet.
My second favorite genre movie. So
damn.
Yeah, I love it. Horror,
Gangsters.
Crime, gangster, and then I don't know, romance maybe. I'm a sucker for a sappy ass movie.
Oh, dude, any movie that makes you cry?
Yeah. It makes me cry because it makes me feel alive.
Makes you feel good. But yeah, so Goodfellas, the movie summary. A young man grows up in the mob, works very hard to advance himself through the ranks. He enjoys his life of money and luxury, but is oblivious to the horror that he causes. A drug addiction and a few mistakes ultimately unravel his climb to the top, based on book Wise Guys by Nicholas Pileggi? Something. Yeah, so Henry Hill was an Irish Italian American. But the thing is, with mafias, normally it's only Italians. So he grew up in there's a poor household, and he started working with the mob, making a few bucks, and then they realized he was really good. So he basically got kind of like initiated into the family, like accepted, which isn't normally. It's normally still kept in the family. Yeah. So normally that's how it always goes, but no, for him, he was like actually worked his way to the top. I don't know how much like I should tell about like the movie, or if I should just go against like the differences in the movie.
Yeah, it's tough. I think talk a little bit about the movie, but mostly like what the real crime was.
Yeah. So basically Henry, let's see, he joins the mob, does really well. He meets his first wife. Obviously, with that, he then cheats, lies, steals, mob shit.
Gang.
They have some kids. And then obviously business kind of goes more south, I guess you could say. It gets a little bit rougher. They start pushing more stuff.
My question is like, is the character in Goodfellas, were they doing the same type of crime? And were they living at that level of lavish that they show? Because when you usually watch these movies like Irishman, Goodfellas, or Sopranos, or The Departed, like it's always shown that these Italian mobsters very lavish lifestyles.
Yeah.
Is that rooted in reality, or is that just for show?
No, he really did live in luxury. Like they lived comfortably. Like you know, I mean, really, there's no reason for him to do it except um um to make the money. Because
Right.
the mostly the reason why Henry wanted to work with them in the first place is because he saw how much better off they were,
Right.
how more comfortable they were. Um, so that's why he joined it because, well, he kind of joined the mob because he also hated his dad. Him and his dad had a very abusive relationship. You saw it in the movie, and that was actually accurate.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so like he would beat his son, and then but then especially then once he started joining the mob, he basically was like, I don't want any part or any of the money you own from your mob job. Because he was doing like small crimes, like, you know, selling cigarettes, discount that were stolen, things like that. But no, they I it didn't really I didn't really see like what they were like selling and stuff.
Because I know like the drug game was a big thing, but all the different mobs seem to have like something they controlled and sold.
Yeah.
Was his drug addiction real too?
His drug addiction was real, and it is true that once he got into witness protective program, he did get sober and started becoming an entrepreneur, and then wrote a book, obviously, where he is now. But no, because he so basically, what happens is he's mob boss. Family doesn't really do anything with him anymore, but he has a new family because when you're in the mob, you're family.
Yeah.
He meets this wonderful wife. Difference in the movie and the show was it kind of I always took in the movie that like the wife started loving him less. Apparently, like a lot of witnesses say, like no, they were mad. It was like such a passionate relationship that they loved each other so much, but they would fight also at the same time. But she was just in the fight, like she would hit those blows just as much as him. So it was almost like they were equals.
Yeah.
Because like she knew what was going on, like he knew. The only difference is in the movie they have a son. That's not true. They actually had 2 daughters.
Okay.
I don't really know why they gave why that mattered.
One thing that a lot of mob gangster movies do really well, but they do it a lot, is symbolism.
Yeah.
And I think having a boy kind of symbolizes a lot because that's like the future. If a mob if someone in the mob has a son, the anticipation is when they grow up they're also going to be in the mob. So it gives them a reason to try and not only get out but change their current circumstance so they can so their son doesn't have to live that same type of lifestyle.
Right.
Even though like it can be lavish.
Yeah. Actually, I realized I was misspoken. He did have a son, but he also had a daughter. For some reason, the article, it was like Hales had 2 daughters, 2 adoring daughters, but then it was like 1 daughter, a disappointing son, or a disapproving son. So apparently, the dad did not like him the whole time because he was not into it. Especially because like once Henry got into like his bins and stuff, because he was a drug addict and he did like fuck that up because like when they first started the mob it wasn't really into drugs, but then obviously they got into it because that's bigger money. So he did have a son actually, but his son wanted nothing to do with his dad. Basically he was like he was like like a reason why they don't really talk about the kids morally in the movie, like the daughter adored her dad because princess. But the son didn't. Also because once then Henry was on his bins, he was kind of abusive to Karen, his wife. And Greg was just not okay with that.
One thing that I've always picked up too, and it was in Goodfellas as well, and it's in Sopranos, it's in Departed, Irishman, all of them.
Yeah.
When they have the opportunity to leave.
Yeah.
A lot of them, like, And they usually do it through like symbolic messages, but they hate the idea of not having that lifestyle. Because even though like you watch it or you read it, you know that it's bad.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
It is exciting. I think there is a thrill. I mean, there's a thrill in crime. That's why crime is still a thing to this day.
I mean, Goodfellas, for example, like, you know, at the end of the movie, you see him, like, he looks depressed going out to get his newspaper in suburbia somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And then right at the start of the movie, he's hanging out with Sinatra at this bar. Everyone's coming up saying hi, paying their respects to him. Like, that type of, like, switch. Who wouldn't pick the lavish? Who wouldn't want to be that guy who's,
right?
You know, all these head dudes are coming up and talking to you.
Right, exactly. But, yeah, no, 100%. Like, especially, as there's a respect to it, too.
Yeah.
There's a respect. You respect me and my business, I respect you. I mean, Sopranos, the first couple episodes, the friend who's a chef, who has the shop, they obviously blow it up for the insurance money, but like they hurt their friends.
Yeah, they hurt. Yeah.
But like they don't tell him. But it's like, but the friend still has respect for Tony because he doesn't know the truth.
Yeah, I don't know.
Respect thing.
I don't know how much of Sopranos is based in reality.
That one would be a good.
I know that there's quite a bit that is. Yeah. I don't know if they've like changed character names or if it's just really well written, but not only is that show really a great representation of like that lifestyle.
Yeah.
But it's a great representation of how men thought in that time period.
Oh yeah.
If you were like, I mean, I know it was like early 2000s, but if you had that old school mindset and you got caught going to like a psychiatrist,
you would be you wouldn't be head of the family anymore.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what pussy?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And they use a lot of words, you know, and it's just, I don't know. There's some parts of it's just so fascinating. Like the other part that I thought was really fascinating about The Sopranos, at least where I'm at, the women are one of the most fascinating aspects of that whole show because they play such an interesting role in the whole story. You look at it and you think, why can't they see the bigger picture? But then they make moves and they are the bigger picture. Yeah. It's like, Jesus Christ, like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's fascinating.
It is really fascinating. But so the son wasn't in the movie. They don't know, there's really no reason why they chose not to have him in the movie. But he wasn't in it.
Could understand not wanting to be involved.
Yeah, I think that was partially it. Another interesting that happened was so Tommy, who was played by Joe Pesci, the guy that also was in Home Alone. Yeah. He wasn't actually short and middle aged. So the real Tommy DeSimon was young, tall, and with curly hair. Oh. Yeah. Interesting. Like a lot of people would describe him as like handsome and drop dead gorgeous, like a really nice looking but man. So he wasn't like the old man they kind of presented him to be. Apparently, it's also rumored that when Henry went to jail, because that was true that he did go to jail before he went to witness protection. He went to jail for just that little bit of time. There's rumors that Tommy actually tried to like rape her while Henry was gone. Yeah. Rumors, but and then but basically during their, because you remember that scene where they had the welcome home party for Henry? Yeah. You welcome home and then Tommy picks a fight and kills a guy. Fun fact, Martin Scorsese had to actually cut down how many times he got stabbed in the movie because it was too graphic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they actually had to cut down the amount of stabbings. Because, I mean, watching that scene is brutal.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
But, yeah, they had to cut it down, actually. It used to be longer. Wow. So I'm like, that makes sense.
I've always had one thing, like one glaring question about all of these movies, right? including Scorsese as a person, De Niro.
Yeah.
Are they all involved?
I
Do you
don't
think
know.
they were in a way involved in the mob? Because the mob, at its peak,
Yeah.
ran a lot of stuff, including parts of Hollywood. They ran Vegas.
Yeah.
You know, they were.
They made Vegas.
Yeah.
Well, the mob didn't. A Jewish man did. Who was part of the mob.
Right.
But it was an Italian man.
Which would be a cool episode to do too. Like.
No, his story is cool because he's never seen. He's one of my favorite true crime gangster, like real life gangsters. This Jewish man creates and invents Vegas. He's like, the reason why I really don't like, I don't really gamble that much is because what is it? I think is it 21 or what? Blackjack. I think it might have been Blackjack.
Same thing as 21. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Blackjack. He's like, you only play Blackjack because it's the only chance you actually have of a slight win.
Yeah.
Because it's the only game because everything is rigged because he made them. He's like, I don't bet because I made these games.
Yeah.
You don't win. But he made, so he's a Jewish man, right? Millions and millions of dollars. The feds were on his case. So I would equate to him to today's, he had $3 billion in his pocket. Is like equivalent to what he had. You know what he did? The feds got too hot on him, were about to get him. You know what he did? Went to Jerusalem.
Oh!
Paid them $1 billion for sanctuary. Now he just lives there the rest of his life.
Jeez.
Because
what
he's a Jewish man. Well, honestly, badass. Because he's safe. That what the country of Jerusalem is not going to give the person that gave him all that money away, and two, now he's a citizen there. He got instant citizenship. Now the United States have no touch on him. So he did all that. He made Vegas, committed all those crimes, fucked off.
See, I've just always wondered though if there's like, and maybe I'm sure there's research out there because I'm sure I'm not the only one who's ever asked that question.
Yeah.
Like Pacino. You know, the Sopranos talk about those movies all the time and how in love they are with them.
Yeah.
Is it because they are just perfectly representations of what was going on?
Yeah.
Or was it because they were involved? I'm not saying like getting their hands dirty, but like...
Yeah. But like, did they hang out with mobsters? Because I mean...
in a mobster's mind, if they could write a movie that's going to net them the money that Goodfellas and, you know, Scarface and all these different movies did...
Oh, yeah.
Of course you're going to do it. That's a move.
Oh, no, 100%. I mean, he actually had, because in this article, Robert De Niro actually had the real Henry Hill on speed dial. I'm just saying. And Martin Scorsese had side characters that were actually part of the mob.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think you just get that because you're
not. Yeah, I mean, honestly.
Kick back a little money to the mob.
Why not?
Make the perfect movie.
Make the perfect movie. They tell you a little bit of secrets. You don't tell nobody.
The other thing too, like conspiracy thing, they could write their own history through these movies.
Yeah, they could. I mean,
when you watch The Irishman, it's a lot of that movie is about what's the body they always try to search for? Like it's like Jimmy Hoffa. It's about Jimmy Hoffa.
Oh yes.
And the way they write it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And like, no one really knows exactly what happened to him. But if the Irishman is real, we know exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. That's why gangster movies are so fucking good.
They're just, I love it. I absolutely love it. Other things that happened. The Air France heist was actually planned a bit differently. So one of the major robberies in the film, quite a bit more. So they actually were way more. So like that heist, the Air France one, was actually way more thought out than the movie made it seem.
Oh, so it wasn't like rushed.
It wasn't rushed. It was actually like they had time. And like they spend time doing it. Another like difference is Henry actually wanted out a lot. At one point he even tried to join the Air Force to escape, but then ended up back into it.
Well, I'm sure it's just one of those things too, where like I don't think unless you're involved in something like that, you can understand the pressure. Like, and that whole idea, like you have to like look behind your shoulder everywhere you go, because who's targeting you? You know?
Yeah.
I don't think I could live that type of lifestyle.
Oh no. But like some other differences was like so Tommy and Henry in the movie, they show them like having always been friends, like since like Henry was a young kid. That's actually not true because they like didn't grow up together or anything like that. But I don't remember because I hadn't like seen it in the last week. But so when Tommy, like Henry came back and they had the welcome back party and Tommy stabbed the guy. I don't remember what they were fighting about in the movie.
Can't remember.
But apparently, what he was actually like, why he blew up was because the guy was making fun of him for being a shoe shiner as a kid.
Oh.
And Tommy snapped because the guy was just like egging him on, being mean.
No, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was in the movie because he gave him shit. Because as a kid, he remembered him being a shoe shiner.
Yeah.
And then he got pissed off because he's like, I'm not a fucking kid anymore. I don't shine shoes anymore.
Yeah. So that was actually true. Apparently.
That would be disrespectful to say.
Yeah. Apparently, Polly was like. Polly, you know, the one that was like kind of like the understanding, sweet, old like mentor. Apparently, he was actually violent and vicious as a person. Oh. Apparently, he was not that nice. Like he was nice, but not that nice. But Tommy's violent side is a bit exaggerated in the movie. He was, I mean, he stabbed a guy for making fun of him as a kid.
Sure.
Like. There's a point where you stab someone and kill them because they made fun of you for being a shoe shiner.
Yeah.
But apparently he was explosive, but it wasn't that
wasn't that like
yeah,
over the top.
Yeah, because also too because like yes, it is true that the reason why Billy Bates got stabbed by Tommy is because he was making fun of him for being a shoe shiner, but it was also because they were planning on killing Billy anyways.
So it wasn't really a big deal. Well, what I want to know is the scene where he shot that kid in the foot real. Does that say anything on there? Because the kid was giving him some shit for being a dickhead, and then he pulled out his gun and just blasted him in the foot. I always thought that scene was really silly.
I don't remember. I didn't say anything about that one. I would assume maybe it probably not because considering he wasn't as violent.
That seemed like a very movie scene. Yeah,
I think that was more of a movie scene. Also, the scene where they shot Tommy in the face so then his mom couldn't have an open casket. That's actually not true. Tommy's murder has yet to remain unsolved.
Oh.
So, so they actually never found Tommy's body.
Oh shit.
So, because technically Tommy shouldn't have killed Billy Bates in the movie, so like it was like a revenge killing kind of thing. But that really wasn't the case. It was actually like more of a plan to kill Billy. And they're not really sure exactly why they killed Tommy, but obviously it being mob things, not everything is known.
Right.
And also vendettas. I mean, watching Sopranos, sometimes you just do it because even though the boss tells you no, you do it because of pride.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tommy's actually not even found.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fun fact, the actor who plays the main character has a permanent guy liner tattooed.
That's pretty cool.
Fun fact. I saw him in another movie and I'm like, is he wearing eyeliner? And I looked it up. He has tattooed eyeliner to make his eyes pop.
That would make sense why his eyes are so, like, he has very gorgeous eyes.
Yeah. But now he's like 65 and it looks really strange.
That would, make sense.
Because he's on some TV show. He's like a star on a TV show. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, the mom, Tommy's mom, is actually Martin Scorsese's mom.
Oh, really?
Fun fact.
I like that.
Yeah. Let's see. Is there any other? Apparently, the attorneys in the film are also real U.S. attorneys.
That's kind of cool.
Let's see. Is there anything? Apparently, the test screenings were also a disaster.
Really?
That would make sense because that's when they were doing the test screenings. That's why they had to cut the stabbing scene down. Is because it was too much. There was like a couple of people that actually left the theater after that.
There's a lot of movies that, like, a little off topic of Goodfellas specifically, a lot of movies that really didn't test well that are now classics. Obviously, the biggest one, like Fight Club, that movie bombed in the theaters.
No, that would make sense. I mean, The Room.
Yeah, The Room, horrible reviews.
Horrible movie, but now it's a cult classic and people love it.
I rewatched Fight Club the other day, and still pretty good.
I liked Fight Club. I had no issues with Fight Club. I thought it was great from beginning to end.
Yeah, it was one of the worst box office hits with that big of a cast.
Huh.
Like, it failed in the theaters, and then it became popular after.
Have you ever seen Memento?
No, I want to, though.
That's a good one. I'm not going to say anything about it. Just watch it.
Yeah, that's...
Because I remember the first time I watched that movie, I literally was like...
I had someone recommend me that, and they said, I can't really tell you anything about it. Just go ahead. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's really good. I remember showing someone I was dating at the time, and he was like... I didn't understand a single thing, but it was fucking brilliant. And I was like, yeah, damn right it was.
Speaking of brilliant movies, I'll go into my first one. Scream. I mean, dude, if you think 90s horror, right?
Scream was a pivotal 90s horror.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best. I mean, Ghostface is one of the most recognizable horror Halloween masks.
Yeah. I would put, it's like a holy trinity. Ghostface, Michael Myers, Jason.
Yeah.
It's the holy trinity. When you're looking at symbols of horror, those are the three that will always come up.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way.
It's just always that. Okay, so Scream is loosely based off of an event that occurred in the 90s, but there's a lot of differences.
Yeah.
Right. Synopsis of Scream. If you guys haven't seen it, please, by God, go watch it. You might actually be better at doing a synopsis of it. I think you've seen it more than I.
Scream. So one night, Casey, the town's popular girl, gets murdered and her boyfriend, and then there is a killer on the loose who is targeting is it Casey? No, Casey was Sydney.
Yeah. Sydney.
That's targeting Sydney, and the murders are happening around the same time of her mom's death. And so it's basically about this girl who's fighting off these killers while slowly but surely everyone around her is getting murdered.
Yes.
I'm just going to spoil it. Fun fact, she goes to this party because it's lockdown. Of course, when you have a lockdown because there's a loose serial killer, have a party at your friend's house. Well, find out her boyfriend and his best friend were tag teaming the duties of Ghostface and were killing people. And then you find out Billy Loomis, her boyfriend, was the killer because his mommy left home because of Sydney's mom sleeping with her dad, having an affair, broke up the marriage. And so, and then you find out so much. Like, I love Scream. I love the first three, as crappy as the second one's all right. The third one's trash, but I will still watch all three in one sitting because it's a story all in its own.
Yes. I need to watch the TV show. I still haven't seen it.
Actually, the TV show
is really good. Yeah.
I'm really sad because it never was picked up for a third season, and it could have used a third season.
And Scream 5's coming out.
Yeah, they actually, and it's going to be by the same people who did Ready or Not.
Yeah.
That movie was phenomenal. I made Ari watch it the other day. My boyfriend, he does not like horror, which is understandable.
No? Fucking Bieber doesn't like horror either. They give her so much shit.
But yeah.
Hop on board. It's good for you.
Yeah, at least he's willing to try. So, because the thing is, Evil Dead Remake is one of my all-time favorites. I would say it's my top 3.
Yeah.
He hates that one.
Why?
He's like, excessive horror that didn't need to be there. And I'm like, no!
Oh, that's the whole point of Evil Dead, though.
I know, I was like, Evil Dead Remake is cinematically...
It's raining blood and there's chainsaws.
Right, and it's like, that movie has cinematic history in it because it was the one movie that had the most fake blood in their budget. Yeah. They used the most fake blood in any movie. Yeah. And that's impressive.
And then Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Come on. Yeah. But, yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, he loved Ready or Not.
Oh, okay.
He was like, that was tasteful gore. And I'm like, big fan.
Big fan.
I was like, you don't really... Horror doesn't have to be tasteful gore. It's horror. There's anyways. But Scream.
Shout out, Ari. Great. So Scream is loosely based off of the Gainesville Ripper.
Ooh.
His name was Daniel Harold Rolling. He was an American serial killer who murdered 5 students in Gainesville, Florida, and then an additional 3 in Louisiana. At least that's what he was tried for. This happened in the late 1990s, and it was a media event. It was just scoured the media, especially in the Florida area. There aren't many similarities between the movie Scream and what Daniel Rolling did, aside from the murdering of students.
Oh, okay.
The director of Scream, Kevin Williamson, claimed to write the plot based very loosely off this event. And what is interesting about it is how much of an impact those murders had on the individuals who were in high school and college at the time, specifically in that Florida, Louisiana, Bible Belt area. Apparently, and this is kind of crazy to think about, and it didn't just stop in that area, like it stretched across the nation. Students across several different colleges and universities were changing their daily habits. They were sleeping in groups.
Yeah.
They were always walking with individuals, which is a safe bet to do anyways.
Yeah, it's smart. Safety numbers.
And then also there were, I can't remember what they called it, but there were like town halls at these universities to make sure people were accounted for.
Oh.
They were kind of worried this was another Ed Kemper, Bundy type of situation, that this guy was going to go around and start just killing college students.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, because I mean, when we did our Lonely Hearts episode, rest in peace, we talked about how the students had to check in at the dorms every night, and if they weren't accounted for, you got a missing report.
Right.
So, makes sense.
After a total of 8 victims accounted for, all, by the way, petite brunettes with brown eyes, similar to the lead in Scream.
Sydney?
I don't know if she had brown eyes, but she
did.
Petite, brown hair.
She had brown eyes.
Or brunette. And a few other crimes. The Gainesville Ripper was hunted down and captured by investigators and charged with several accounts of murder. And on April 20th of 1994, great year, I was born that year, he was sentenced to death. That is where the director claims a lot of his inspiration came from. Obviously, in my opinion, he was able to write one of the best twists in a movie, a horror movie, that doesn't have anything to do with the Gainesville Ripper, but students getting killed, I can kind of see where his inspiration came from.
Yeah.
I don't think that he did or ever tried to claim Scream as based on a real event.
No, I don't think he did. No, he didn't.
But it was still kind of cool that he said it.
Oh yeah, no, because I mean, Scream was so pivotal for the early 90s, because that's when like cell phones became a thing and XYZ became a thing, and so like
I get trying to go back and watch Scream, like some of the acting is a little cringe, but I don't know if there's a better rooted based in reality murder movie in the horror genre in that time period. There's better ones now probably, but that was like iconic.
No, that was iconic, because it was like, and it was more scary because it was like, no, this could really happen, because like caller ID really was just starting to become a thing and all this stuff. But I would say, I don't know, I thought, hey, I guess I have a love for it, so I'm a little bit like, I don't see anything wrong with it, but I can understand why other people would. Aren't me, obviously.
Fun fact that I came across while researching this: the original title of Scream was supposed to be Scary Movie. And then
Scary Movie
came out, and it was the, joke, like, a spoof movie.
Yeah.
Which is what Bieber commented, the what that with the tongue, the ghost face with the tongue out. Like,
yeah.
Scary Movie, another pivotal movie, but for a different reason.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that was the original title for Scream.
I didn't either.
Brilliant.
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, like, no, I love it.
Yeah, that's the Gainesville Ripper. I kind of want to do more research on him because it sounds like he was more. Have we covered a lot of 90s serial killers? I feel like most of our serial killers have been 80s and 80s before.
Yeah.
I mean, I get.
When was the Butcher, Torture, Kill one?
BTK? I think that was 90s, no? I thought he was 60s, 70s.
Oh, well, the BTK, I thought he had the floppy disk.
Yeah, I guess maybe that was 90s.
I think he started in the 70s, 80s, and then
it stretched to the 90s.
It stretched into the 90s. Because he was a bit more of a slow,
didn't
do it all the time, because he didn't get caught for a hot minute. I guess he did it earlier, and then still wanted the fame.
Yeah.
His lust for recognition was his downfall.
Yeah, he would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
Yeah.
Other thing, shout out to Shaggy in Scream. I always forget his name. Most underrated actors ever.
Oh, Matthew Leonard?
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
His
Watch SLC Punk and tell me I'm wrong.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Hottest man in the 90s.
Yeah.
Straight up. You can't tell me otherwise. Scream, even Scooby-Doo, that movie.
Yeah.
I for some reason I'm on like Matthew Leonard TikTok where I get like once every.
Did you ever watch Fever Pitch?
I actually haven't.
That's a cute one.
I'll have to watch that one.
Cute little baseball movie.
Yeah, and then whoever played Billy Loomis.
Yeah.
A1 sauce. Even to this day, he was in the new Riverdale show.
I haven't watched Riverdale.
You're not missing much. Wouldn't bother.
No. Oh, okay.
You want to talk about cringe? And it was like.
Cool. I'll skip that one. That was on my list. I'll skip that one.
I mean. I started it and I loved the first season. The first season was great. If you're going to watch it, at least watch the first season. So at least you say you've seen it, but you haven't finished. The first season was really good. I couldn't really get through the end of the second season. It was kind of like Pretty Little Liars for me. I watched the first 3 to 4 season of it, and I think there's now 8 or 9, or like 7 or 8. I don't remember. I just remember giving up halfway through, and I remember kept trying to start and unstart it. It's the same with Vampire Diaries as well. It's just like I get to a point where the first seasons are really good, but you know they're making money, so they're stretching it.
Yeah.
That's my issue. Like, I know...
Walking Dead.
Yeah. I think they're on the last season, though. This will be the last season. But then they have Fear the Walking Dead. Yeah. Because that's how I feel with, like... I loved Vampire Diaries as a kid, but now they have, like, Vampire Diaries. They have Origins, and now they have Legacies.
I never dove into Vampire Diaries. I heard a lot of good. I heard that it's pretty good.
It's like a decent series. I mean, I liked their take on the vampires in the sense of they have to wear rings, like enchanted witch rings, to make it so they can stay in the sun. Otherwise, they will burn and die. Things like that. My favorite anything with vampires is obviously True Blood.
Yeah, True Blood's great.
True Blood's my favorite. I fucking love it so much.
What's the main chick's name?
Suke.
Yeah, Suke.
Suke. Feel.
Suke.
I love that.
I didn't start that one until much later, though.
Yeah.
I've seen most of it, but...
I've seen it all the way through like 3 or 4 times now.
Yeah?
I've watched it so much. Well, because my dad also watched it with me. Because a lot of the TV shows, like Vampire Diaries, my dad's seen it all. Even the spin-off series. Because...
Your dad really likes Supernatural, too, right?
Yeah, he's seen it all like 5 or 6 times now.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Because the interesting thing with Vampire Diaries, I'll say is an interesting take on vampires in general, is so... not Origins, the originals. So there were original vampires, so like they're all siblings. I think there's like 8 or 9 of them. So every vampire they create, and then that vampire creates on. If the original person dies, every vampire connected to the original dies as well.
Oh.
It's a very interesting take, only because it's like, well, obviously they're the most powerful.
Kind of reminds me weirdly of It Follows.
Yeah.
Can't remember, like if you die, it goes back to the person who
you had sex with.
Yeah. I hated that movie the first time. Second time, I actually kind of liked it.
I liked it the first time. I was really confused, and then I understand it completely the second time, and I was like, oh no, this is baller. The soundtrack is what sold me. Every time I listen to the soundtrack at night when I'm driving, I have to turn it off. Like, I've done it once or twice where I thought about it. I was like, oh, what did it sound like again? And then I was like,
STG, sexually transmitted ghost. Ghost.
Yeah, that was an interesting one too.
I thought the idea was, I don't know. I think I watched it the first time and I just half-ass watched it, where I was not really into it.
Yeah.
So I didn't like it, and the second time I watched it, I'm like, this actually is a terrifying idea.
Yeah. No, it's genuinely terrifying because my favorite old question is what would you rather have you not even have, but for $5 million or to live comfortably the rest of your life, you can have that, but you have to have a small snail following you the rest of your life, and if it touches you, you die.
Yeah.
Because logic, because it's the same with It Follows. It's just a person slowly walking till they reach you, they touch you, you die. And it's fucked up how they die. I remember with that one guy she slept with, and he was like, it's fine, and then he was like,
yeah,
fucked up. Yeah, but it was just
yeah, the snail question's interesting because I feel like I would take the $5 million, and your logic, you could logic out oh, I'll just move to the other side of the country or the world.
Yeah.
But 20 years goes by, right?
Yeah.
And you just don't think about it anymore, and you're just walking outside to get your mail or some shit, and it hits you. And you just weren't, you just didn't even think about it anymore. It was a thought that you haven't even remembered for 20 some odd years. Yeah. And now you're dead at 40.
Well, because the thing is, you can never really have a stable life. That's my only thing. You would have to live the van life.
I feel like you would do something. I feel like you could mathematically try and figure it out. What if you got someone to measure how fast the snail moves, and then calculate how long it would take it to travel a certain distance, and then always keep a bookmark of it, but it's still just, you would be paranoid your whole life. I don't think you don't get paranoid. You would just always be thinking is it the snail? What if there's another snail? Is it that snail? I've walked outside, there's been snails in my yard. What if it's one of those snails?
Yeah, because that's the thing is too, because I wouldn't feel comfortable living in any woody kind of place.
Hell no, desert.
Yeah, you'd have to live in a desert, because if you see a snail in the desert, you know it's fucking coming for you.
Yeah, it's that one. Sarah.
The alpha species in Supernatural that Crowley was looking at. Become a witch and surround your house with salt. No salt will get you.
No snail will get you with the salt. I haven't seen Supernatural call signs, so I'm not sure what you're referring to. I need to watch Supernatural. I know it's right up my alley.
I've watched probably up to 7 or 8 seasons. I stopped pretty soon after Sam and Dean they find out about their past. More so in the sense of they inherit some things. That's all I'll say if you want to watch it. So it's a spoiler, but it's not really a bad spoiler to know. Also, it's Supernatural. It's been out for a hot minute. Yeah. And the last, it was 7 or 8 season, and then now it's 14. They've been dealing with the same group that whole time. But see, the issue with the snail scenario, I would say, is because I don't remember if you can kill it.
No, I don't think you can kill it. It's just a thing that exists.
I guess what you could do is, since you have millions of dollars, one, I would invest the hell out of it, so then I would never have to work a day in my life.
Sure.
Or I would just pick up a job I have now, where I can stay there 6 months, move across the country. I think what I would probably do is have 3 houses. So I'd have one in Maine, one in Utah, and then one probably not even Utah. I'd probably go Maine, Portland, or Washington, somewhere in that coast. So here, and probably Texas. I have family in Texas. So then what I'd do is I would live here until I also would then probably get obsessed with snails and study how fast they go.
That's what I was saying. Is could I just pay someone to see how fast it's moving, and then calculate how long it would take it to travel a distance, and then set alarms when oh, it's been 7 years, it's getting close.
Yeah, see, I think you could do that. I think you could do that. A little truth, Hubert. But because like that, because I would probably just have 3 homes. Because if you have $5 million, even if you're buying $1 million homes, you have $2 million.
Yeah.
And if you have 7 years to live at said home, because the thing is, I probably realistically like start in Utah, go to Maine or somewhere in like that peninsula, or even start in Portland.
But
like
Alaska.
Alaska would be great.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like cost effective money wise. But no, Alaska would be good. Yeah, no, because Alaska.
No, there's not going to be any other snails crawling up on you.
No, if you see a snail coming up in that snow, you're like, all right, time to.
It's that motherfucker.
Because the thing is, also too, if you saw the snail coming, so like, say you saw a snail in your house, because the only time you'd have to really truly worry is when you're relaxing and you're sleeping.
Yeah.
Because if I saw a snail, like I was cooking in the kitchen and I saw a snail at my doorway, hop out that window as fast as you can in the car.
Yeah.
But then I would probably, honestly, what I would do, I would just stay at a hotel 6 blocks down, wait for the snail to get back there, go back to my home, pack it all up, and then
just
move.
dip, yeah.
Yeah, so like
I feel like there's ways around it. See, my only concern is if you play the route of like too much comfortability and you just don't pay attention, you're gonna do that one day where you're like walk into your car and you step on the snail and you die.
Yeah.
You just totally forgot.
Or you're gonna be sleeping one night and then the snail like you see it on your face and it goes boop.
Yeah.
It goes with its gross eyeballs and it goes
You hear it with this deep
you.
voice. It's time.
It's time. Can't run away.
You lived your life in comfort for so long.
What if the snail like I don't know. But anyway, I love that question. Only because I love to hear people's logic on it.
Bieber says, I mean, you could always move from Japan to Australia to Hawaii, surrounded by salt water. I think that the whole thing is like we're like this snail is like.
It's like it follows. It's like a ghost snails where so like it would technically just hover above the water.
Yeah, in my scenario, it's just kind of like floating. Like,
yeah,
it's crawling, but it's like a floating thing.
Like it's coming to you no matter what.
So it's not gonna like sink into the ocean.
Yeah. Unless it's a really smart snail and it starts taking planes and trains.
That would fucking suck. It like sticks itself to like the plane.
Is that allowed?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you get into the plane and it's already in the cabin, could you fucking imagine? You would just have to basically like the entire time be like, flight attendant, this snail cannot touch me. And then they would try to kill it and let it die. So you would just have to walk back and forth to the cabins and hop.
Well, think about all the like, what if like you ran into like a bear, like out in the wilderness, and there's a bear, and then the snail's behind you. What do you do? You just fucking die.
Yeah. Bears are the apex predators of the world.
Like you're just kind of fucking done. So you can't run from the bear because now the snail's there. Can't run from the snail because there's a fucking bear there.
Right.
You're just done.
I probably would jump on the snail then. I'd rather be instant death than mauled by a bear.
Oh, for sure.
I've seen The Revenant.
Yeah.
Revenant.
Yeah, the bear hugs.
Yeah, that was a
rough movie.
That was a rough movie. I saw it in theaters. It was pretty good in theaters. The only issue is we sat in like one of the first 3 rows.
Ooh.
And so
it's
I was
a
just
long
like,
movie to be.
Oh yeah, no, especially when it's like they have those scenes where it's just like pitch white because it's snowing and you're like, what?
Fuck, yeah, you need some sunglasses.
Yeah.
Alright, on to the next one. You got
Catch Me If You Can. So sorry. So popular.
Oh, the people. I guess back to my original answer, become a witch. Well, you could become a witch. I think that's fair. Maybe within your time period of becoming a witch, you're able to dispel the magical snail from the world. You hit it with some fucking, like... You get one of those, like, I don't know what they're called, like cauldron things that you can grind shit in. You grind up some, like, glass and salt and, like, turmeric and, I don't know, some mineral. You sprinkle it on it and it just dies.
Right? I'm just like, sorry, my boy T friend is running to the store for me, and he's like, what am I picking up? And I texted him, and it didn't seem like it went through, so now I'm like trying to Snapchat him and be like, bitch,
maybe you give the snail a tarot card reading, and then you pull the death card and die.
Death card. They're like, actually, death card is actually what you want to get, because it's the best card.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I know how to beat it.
Yeah.
You just walk up to it and give it that fucking Uno reverse card, and then he just dies.
You're like, reverse.
Yeah,
and then you touch the snail, then you have $5 million.
Yeah, damn. Fucking GG for that dumb snail.
I probably would follow it for like an hour. like slowly watching it creep away and slowly get closer, just so it knows how it feels.
I'd go up to it with that Yu-Gi-Oh disc thing and flip it out and be like, my 5 Exodia cards, and then just fucking send them to the Shadow Realm.
Right?
Easy win.
I'd get my Beyblades and be like, fight this off.
Oh, damn.
But catch me if you can. It is a movie about one of the most prolific counterfeit people in the world. He got billions of millions of dollars from people. Let's see. So basically, it is about this guy. What's his name? Sorry. What is your name? Frank. Abigail? Abigail? Anyways, Frank. The biggest number one difference is there was no Tom Hanks.
Oh.
So yes, there were FBI after him, looking for him, trying to figure out who he was and trying to find him for his crimes.
There wasn't this like lead.
It wasn't one person. It was a whole group. So there wasn't a realistic Tom Hanks.
That makes kind of sense, because I know that like for a movie you have to have a Tom Hanks type character.
Yeah.
But in reality, it would always be a task force. It wouldn't just be this one guy. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes. So another one. So it was true. His parents did get divorced. The only difference is Frank Sr., played by Christopher Walken, who was in it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like he had a consistent thing in it. He wasn't actually in his life that much.
Oh.
He didn't really have that much in it. He didn't really. So basically, once Frank ran away from home, because that's what he did, he really didn't see his father much after that. Like after he got arrested and then started working for the FBI, which is true. He did start working for the FBI afterwards. Because what's the best way to catch a criminal? With another criminal?
Yeah.
Yes. So Christopher Walken was in it. Now, his father was in the movie, but like he wasn't actually that much into his life. Like kind of once he left and ran away from home, he was kind of solo in his acts of running around. It is true though that like he did a lot of scams, a lot of schemes. Like he was a very smart man. Like he wrote bad checks, and then he did pose as people in powerful positions so that he can get away with stuff. Yeah. But no, he at one point even he did like so the scene where Leonardo DiCaprio Frank was like pretending to be a school student writing a paper about being a pilot. That was true. And then he did steal a uniform that way. So he learned how to be a pilot from this one guy and stole a uniform. So that's all trapped. Like,
is the whole thing at the start of the movie where he is in like prison in a foreign country and then escapes when Tom Hanks's character shows up real?
Okay, so that one
because that always seemed really kind of silly to me, but I don't know.
Okay, so basically in the movie so after Frank heads to France to hide out in his mother's hometown, Carl, the FBI guy, Tom Hanks in the movie, catches up with him and convinces him to turn himself over into French authorities. So like Carl meets him and convinces him to turn in. That's not true because obviously there was no Carl.
Yeah.
What really happened was Frank's womanizing got him captured. So while he was in France, he was spotted by a flight attendant he once dated.
Ooh.
Yeah, so don't sleep with your coworkers. And she turned him into the police. And that's how then the French authorities arrested him. The escaping part,
sometimes you do the getting and sometimes you get got, you know, it's...
Yeah, so basically what happens, the imprisonment, so like, so he did spend time in French prison, and it was much harsher than depicted in the film. He served for like half a year there, and then he was actually transferred to Sweden, because he also had crimes there.
Oh,
and
geez.
There he was actually treated more humanely. Then when he faced extraction to Italy, a judge had his passport canceled, so he would be sent back to America instead. So he didn't ever escape.
Oh, okay, so that was a very dramatized...
Yeah, because like there's like a lot of in the movie, like Frank kind of going about doing all this stuff, like having the time of his life, living like a king.
I assume the movie was a big dramatization of like the real thing.
Yeah, so like it depicts him living the high life most of the time. He was, I mean, in a sense, but at the same time, a lot of what he was doing after Scheme was heisting the next one. Yeah. Because the reason why he was able to get away for so long is because everything was so airtight that he legitimately most of the time was doing homework on how to do stuff, you know?
So he was just it kind of sounds like he was living off the adrenaline. Yeah. The acts were actually what he was enjoying.
He was enjoying making up, doing shit like that. So like, yeah, so straight up that's more of what was like actually depicted for working with the FBI, or like evading the FBI and stuff like that. So what happened?
Does it say much about where he is now? Because I think he would still be alive, right?
I'm pretty sure.
Did he get immunity or?
Well, because basically what happens when the FBI tracked him down and like actually got him, he started working with the FBI, and that is actually true. And it's actually not unusual for the FBI to use criminals.
No.
So basically what happened was, because he was still a criminal and obviously he had to pay for what he did have to like work off his time with the FBI. But like he became good friends with everybody. Like everybody loved him.
Yeah, from my at least when you watch the movie, it didn't seem like he was like. It kind of seemed like he'd be a person you'd want to spend time with.
Oh no, 100%. And like before he got caught, he like met that girl, Amy Adams, who played Amy Adams, who was like young nurse. She wasn't a nurse; she was just a student. It doesn't really matter what she was doing. And they were going to get married. The only issue was when he came out to her, she did call the police on him. So that was true. So they obviously broke up after that.
He's the Vin Diesel of a generation.
Yeah.
He lived his life a quarter mile of a time.
Quarter mile. But let's see. But yeah, so like for the most part, it was pretty accurate. Obviously, Tom Hanks, it was pretty fabricated in the sense of like obviously they made it look more luxurious than it really was.
Right.
But it was cool. I mean,
he probably lived one of the most interesting and unique lives anyone ever has.
Oh yeah. Some fun facts. Leonardo DiCaprio had 100 wardrobe changes in the movie.
Oh, no shit?
Yeah. They also shot in more than 140 locations in just 52 days.
But that was a fun one to film.
Oh, yeah.
Or stressful, actually. 52 days, that actually sounds kind of tough.
Yeah. Apparently, Spielberg didn't actually want the real Frank to meet DiCaprio, Leonardo.
Really?
Yeah. For some reason, it didn't really say why.
Wonder if it's just because Leo had in his head what the guy would act like. If he met him, maybe he would throw that off.
Yeah, like I don't, because like I said, he was living the high life, but it wasn't like he was balling out like even like the gangsters are depicting. It wasn't like he was living and fucking and drinking and having the most fun. Like, most of the time he was working.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's hard work being a con artist.
Oh, yeah.
Con artist.
You know, there's still con artists all over the place. I don't know if you ever had a interaction with one before.
I haven't, but at Barnes & Noble, we had to actually there's a week where we had to hardcore make sure to check our 50s and 100s, because apparently people were using counterfeit 50s. And one of the other locations that I work, not the one I work at, but someone else called it in, like it was like a corporate thing, like, hey, make sure you are checking, because we have scanners that check bills.
Yeah.
But apparently, I don't know what happened, but they found a counterfeit bill.
I've ran into two working, one in fast food and one in, I guess, retail or gas station. I don't know what you would call a gas station. Not really retail, but
yeah, it's like service, I guess.
Yeah, service. So at the fast food place, someone was doing checks, fake checks, and I don't know if it was someone else's checkbook, but they had for like a week ordered like $100 worth of pizza almost every day, but it was at different times, so we didn't really catch on to it until like the third or fourth day.
Yeah. And
then one of the checks had bounced, and then we had called the cops on him, and I guess it was like some guy, and he was like doing it with like a lot of people.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like a real check scam artist.
Yeah.
The other one was a in-person sleight of hand con artist.
Really?
And it was fascinating. He didn't get me.
Yeah.
But I guess what he does, it's almost like a magician, I guess.
Yeah.
He came in multiple times and paid with big bills, and then I don't know how he did it, but would like, and you can only see it very slightly on the camera.
Yeah.
He would like grab the money, but in the process of grabbing the money, hide one of the bills, and then he would put it on the table and be like, "Hey, I think you shorted me." And it was so like, if we didn't have cameras, no one would ever have caught on.
Yeah.
Because like you could barely see like him like take the 20 and do, I don't know what he was doing with it.
Yeah.
And like he had got that store a dozen times.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, free pizza basically at that point.
Yeah.
It was but yeah, no, because I saw online like a video of someone doing that where they were like, watch out, it's like that easy.
Yeah.
Where it was someone like they paid with a 50 and they got like 20s and 10s back, and then like how they did it is that they actually like hid one of the 20s and they're like, you didn't give me enough.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, and like when they were like looking down to put it back, they like crumpled it into their hand and like put it out on the table. So like, yeah, see, it's like the same thing, but like,
yeah,
it's just insane to me, like. Because like that's more of like magician con artist.
Well, and I think too, like the guts to do stuff like that, because like he would still go to jail.
Yeah.
And he's like not wearing a mask, like not like robbing a place.
Just, yeah. Sleight of hand.
Yeah, he was just like maybe like a 40, 50-year-old guy. Just looked like an average dude. Like you wouldn't even question it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That was crazy.
I assume. Do you just want me to close out on The Strangers?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys have seen The Strangers. There was an original film, I think in the 70s or 80s, and then they remade it in 2006, and that's the more popular one. And if you ask my co-host what one of her biggest fears, if not biggest fear, home invasion. And this is one of the movies in my eyes that really captures the absolute fear and terror of home invasion. Home invaders when they have a plan and a goal. Because you've seen The Strangers, right?
Yes.
Like they're
there to.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And it's super scary. Now to kind of give you an idea what The Strangers is, 3 masked individuals armed with axes and other household weapons attack a couple in the cabin. They show up, they knock on the door, or at least one of them. You kind of assume it's a mother, father, and a daughter.
Yeah.
But you don't actually get confirmation of that. just kind of by stature and like appearance.
Just assuming, yeah.
Yeah,
it just seems like it.
They all wear masks. So the father one has like a bag mask that has eye holes. The mom's wearing like a 50s kind of like pinup mask.
Yeah.
Kinda. I don't know how to really explain it. And then the daughter's wearing just like a blonde girl mask.
Yeah.
And it's all really kind of like, ooh, like creepy looking.
Yeah, like if someone knocked on my door and there's 3 of them, I'd be like,
yeah.
Call the police.
So the daughter character comes and knocks on the door, and there's like movie stuff. Like it was like a couple that went to like a.
Didn't they come from a wedding?
Yeah, they came from a wedding, and they like kind of like had like a falling out. Like he was going to propose, and she said no. So there's all this drama, and then like in the middle of the night, and like he was going to propose, take her to this cabin. It was going to be like this romantic thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen. And then they get this knock at the store, and this girl comes up and is like, hey, is so-and-so here? Just some random name.
Yeah.
No one's there, of course. And then she comes back again, does the same thing, and he's like, what the fuck? And he leaves, and then more shit starts happening. They start kind of fucking with the house.
Yeah.
And then it escalates from there to eventually they get in and they kill him.
Yeah.
There is a murder. Like, he has a gun in the house, and they, like, barricade themselves in.
Yeah.
And, like, his brother or uncle or something shows up, and he accidentally kills him. That didn't really happen. Sadly, this movie is based in a lot of reality, which is kind of a bummer, especially if you've seen this movie, because it's quite haunting. I do have to say that they... The director of this movie took from a couple different things, specifically one of them being the Manson family.
That makes a lot of sense.
In specifically when the Manson family broke into actress Sharon Tate's home and killed her. We will be covering the Manson family sometime soon, so I'm not going to get into like a lot of detail about that one specifically, but they did exactly that. They broke into her house and murdered her. Just to prove a message.
Yeah.
The Manson family is some fucked up shit. But next on the list was the Ketty Murders, which I don't know anything about this. To me, it's like a mix of The Strangers and Friday the 13th. It was a quadruple homicide, and it occurred in this rural resort town in Ketty, California. Which, the best way I can describe it is like, they're like cabins in the middle of a forest. Yeah. Kind of like Camp Crystal Lake, minus like a big lake. They're just kind of like cabins where people can go and hang out. You all have like, I think there's like 30 or 40 of them. You can rent them out for the weekend and go like hang out, go adventure outside. Well, in the morning of April 11th, 1981, in house number 28, the bodies of 3 individuals were found brutally murdered, and then later they found the skull and bones of a 4th victim. Now, the sad part about this is there was 2 possible murderers who claim that... I didn't want to give a lot of details on like the people, but it was a family that got murdered. The mother, it was like 4 kids who got murdered, and one of the mothers kind of said like she thought she knew who did it. Yeah. It was like an ex-lover type thing. Well, he passed the polygraph, and then the person that she said would have been with him died of cancer. And they never were able to really point the finger at who did it. Yeah. Strangely enough, and I guess kind of cool, the true crime community has kept this case kind of alive. Yeah. And people are still researching it. In 2000, let me find where this was at. I think it was in the early 2000s, they found a hammer matching the description of one that would have been used at the crime scene, tossed in a lake kind of close by. Yeah. Now, obviously, it's deteriorated and they can't really get anything from it. Fast forward to 2018, so not that long ago, they found DNA evidence from a piece of tape that was at the crime scene. But I don't think they haven't announced whose it was, or they can't match it.
That makes sense.
And this was a case that happened in the 80s, so kind of harder to get DNA evidence.
Yeah.
That was the other inspiration. The final piece of inspiration was actually his own experiences.
Oh.
I guess when he was a kid, where he lived, something that was going on in his town specifically, and this happens all over the place, is individuals will come and knock on people's doors and ask for a random person. And if they're not there, like, depending on who you ask, different things can happen. But if people answer the door, they're like, okay, well, we can't rob this house because there's people here.
Yeah.
But if no one answers the door, that's a house to rob. Or if it's people that look like you could take, it's a potential people you can rob. And I guess he had an experience as a kid, home alone, someone came and knocked on the door, and he opened it, and they asked for some random person. And he's like, no one's here. But he had the sense to lock up the house because he kind of knew that was the thing going on. And you can see that almost at the start of the Strangers movie. Like, that's exactly what happens. Yeah. But I thought that was kind of interesting to think that he had an experience that really he put into a movie.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So wait, he was home alone?
I guess. I think he was maybe in his early teens.
Well, I guess if you're an early teen, because I think the first time I was left alone at the house was...
I was like 12 or 13. I may have been like 10 or 11.
Yeah, I think, because where we lived compared to where my dad lived, it was literally 5 minutes away, if that. Like, we lived really close to where my dad worked. No, we didn't. Was I? I just don't remember, like, the exact age I was. Sorry, it just reminded me of this influencer that got in trouble recently because she left her kid at home.
Okay, I know who we're talking about.
Yep, Digital Princess.
Yeah, stupid idiot.
I know. Leaves a 5-year-old potentially autistic boy at home to go party at a friend's house that was 13 minutes away. A lot can happen in 13 minutes.
She gets what I think she's deserving of everything that she's getting right now.
Oh, yeah. You're telling me you have all that money and you can't afford, like, if you don't want...
She don't care about her kid. That's the problem.
Yeah, I was like, if you don't want to take care of your kid, that's one thing. At least pay someone to do it, for you. You know, you're like, I don't want to deal with them. I'm paying you. You deal with them.
I hope TikTok gets rid of her account.
I'm surprised they haven't. I mean, she changed it to private because she made like this apology, like slash, what's it called?
It was super cringe.
Yeah, that it was just kind of like, I remember watching it and being like, what the fuck is she going on about now?
Take responsibility for your actions. Like, you fucked up and move on.
Yeah, and then also come up with a better lie if you're gonna lie to the cops. Yeah. Anyways, but that's insane. Honestly, home invasion is my number one fear. I am glad that, like, even in apartments you can put up like the Nest. Yeah. And like little home securities, because that makes me feel so much better.
We just recently had someone steal from us.
Really?
Yeah, our garage was open and they came in and stole some gas tanks and some other stuff.
Rude.
Yeah, there was car break-ins and it's just like, it's creepy to think that someone was in there and like my room's there and this is like the first thing they would come in if they walked in the garage. Yeah. Kind of creepy.
It is really creepy, especially to think like, I don't know. Yeah. It's creepy.
But yeah, that's it for today's episode. Going forward, we'll probably be doing weekly episodes.
Yes, we'll be going back to our weekly weekend episodes.
Yep. We're going to discuss over the next couple days what the next episode will be. But plan on within this month, October, we'll definitely have our big Zodiac Killer episode.
Yeah. And maybe do like a big Manson episode?
Yeah, I think that's got to come soon. A couple people on my individual basis that I might cover if you don't want to do like together. Yeah. I think DB Cooper would be fun. Ooh. That one's kind of interesting me, especially with all the talk of him lately. Yeah. I've been kind of wanting to do that one, and then I actually want to get more into some like crime, like some gangster related ones.
Yeah, no, I want to do the Irishman at one point, and do the guy I was talking about earlier, the Jewish Mobster.
Yeah, I think that one would be cool.
I wish I could remember his name. But
I think one thing that people need to start expecting out of True Crime Drunks is we've hit a lot of the big serial killers and a lot of the big cults. So we're going to have to start diving into smaller / a little bit different genres.
Yeah. I'd love to do conspiracies at some point.
I would too.
We have a conspiracy theory section at my work, and I'm like,
yeah, I think conspiracy theory should definitely be on there. I'm way down for that. I think conspiracy theory is true crime. So
yeah, I mean,
in a weird roundabout way.
It really is. I 100% believe that. Because when I was looking up like true stories based off movies, crime, like a lot of them were like Catch Me If You Can, like the gangster movies.
One conspiracy we should definitely cover is Titanic.
That's a good one.
If you guys don't know anything about Titanic and the very rich, wealthy people who were involved in going and also not going on the Titanic, conveniently enough, kind of raises some red flags.
Yeah, it does. It's interesting.
It's a cool one. And obviously there's lots of other mainstream ones. But yeah, expect that in the coming months. And truecrimedrunks.com, truecrimedrunks@gmail.com, and truecrimedrunks on all social media platforms.
Yep.
Reach out to us if you want to be involved. We'd love to have you. And yeah, thank you guys for hanging out tonight and watching this episode, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
Bye.